Welcome. We have Sharon Becker this week on our podcast. If you don't know Sharon, you have to know who she is. And she's a famous and well known, and she will deny that, makeup and beauty and hair artist in New York City. Everyone in wedding industry know her. Everyone. And if you don't know Sharon, you're probably not in the wedding industry in New York City. I'm doing this since 2009 in the city. And I think you since 2011, and I see you everywhere all the time. So we meet at different events and at weddings and style shoots. I think I worked with you the most, if I'm looking back
Ah,
over the years for weddings. So welcome, Sharon. And how have you been?
thank you so much for that overly generous introduction. Not everybody knows me, but yes, I am in New York and I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
That's very modest. That just shows how much of a person you are and how professional you are.
Now that you mentioned styled shoot, I'm now remembering where we met, and that was at the CC cover shoot on that rooftop.
Actually, I think you recommended me to Cece for that shoot.
Then how did we meet?
I do not remember, but I think it was many weddings beforehand because I was getting your uh, cards for Valentine's Day way before that.
Really? The cards are no longer, which is why you didn't get one this year because
First
we're
time.
dead and we're saving trees. But
That's a
I'm
good
glad you
thing.
enjoyed the cards. I'm glad that somebody actually read them and remembered them.
I actually do because it's so rare and it was the first time we got it. Wow. And every
Yeah.
year you're doing this shows how care you are about people
Thanks.
and about trees too now, apparently.
Funny because this year I decided not to do it because I just didn't feel like they had an impact. And I sat around between November and February wondering, what do I do with my time now? Because previously I would spend hours and hours working on my mailing list, working with the graphic designer, and then in a 13-hour spurt, I would mail merge all of the labels, slap them on the envelopes, write a little note on every single card, and then process the whole thing myself, and then carry them in many cloth bags down to the mailboxes. And I have to go to multiple mailboxes so I could slip them in. So all over the East Village, the mailboxes were stuffed with my Valentine's cards. But it took hours and I did it on my own. And this year I thought, what do I do with my time now? I had never sit around, but it was like the equivalent of my sitting around, which is more working.
I think we are all busy and definitely from knowing you, you probably find yourself to do something else. Like you're always busy. We deal with a lot of stuff and you don't get feedback from people. But when you don't do stuff, people suddenly like, oh, like I was expecting this and that. So people do notice.
So true. If you weren't on Facebook nudging me about sunlight and 30 grams of protein, I would notice the absence.
Yes. And I'm not trying to nudge people, but I think that's useful. That's
Very,
useful.
well, you're not nudging people to do anything dangerous. You're nudging people to do healthful things like get out from behind their computer and go outside.
Yes. To be out, there's sun and I'm here.
I know.
But to my defense, I got so many allergies with this. Every plant gives me one.
Yep. And the grass too.
Yes. Yep. I'm crying or I'm sneezing. So moving to New Jersey wasn't that amazing.
Right.
But no, it's really great here. And look, we're talking about weddings, the grass and trees.
I know.
So who is Sharon Becker? How did you get to do what you do? And as I mentioned, and maybe you will deny it again, but most wedding vendors who work with brides know you. If anyone is present for getting ready of the bride and it's New York City, there's no chance they don't know you unless they are not really in New York City. So How did you get, and newsflash, from being an actress to do this, to do makeup?
It was a long road. So I graduated NYU with the BFA in drama and a minor in art history back in the 1830s. And
You graduated back in 1830s?
Yep. I graduated back in the 1830s. Yeah. I moved to New York City. I moved to Manhattan when there were dinosaurs roaming Times Square. So I graduated with a BFA in drama, and what was I supposed to do? So I didn't want to wait tables because I felt like compulsive eating wouldn't be a good look. And I opened up the New York Times, which is a newspaper printed on actual paper. And Macy's was hiring for holiday. And I thought, oh, they'll give me a job. So I strolled into Macy's and they put me at the prescriptives counter, which is a brand that isn't even with us anymore. It was one of the Estee Lauder brands. And I was there for the holiday season. And I was so young and dumb, Julian, that I didn't know I was only a holiday hire. So in January, they brought me into a meeting room and they said, okay, we liked working with you. We want to keep you now that the holiday season is over. And I was so dumb. I'm like, but I work here. What do you mean keep me? So I was at Macy's for 4 years, still always at the same prescriptives counter. And then I moved over to Bergdorf Goodman, again at the prescriptives counter, and I was there for 4 years. So I was on counter for about 8 years. And during that time, I would work like 3 jobs a day because I was young and I had the energy. And also I was like a young actress on my own and I needed to make money. So I did my auditions and my plays and my classes because I always kept up with my classes. And I was working at the makeup counter and I was giving out, you're going to laugh at this one. I worked for a liquor marketing agency and I would go to bars and hand out drinks.
Good job.
Uh-huh. I didn't hand out actual cocktails, but I handed out cocktail cards and tried to induce people to try our new recipes. And when there was nothing to do at the bar and nobody there, because it was like a Tuesday night, I had to learn to talk to strangers. And previously, I didn't know how to talk to people. I was just a kid from the suburbs and I didn't have any social graces. But if you're in a bar for 3 hours, and you're going to be there 3 Tuesdays in a row, you better learn to talk to strangers and make the best of it. So I learned how to talk to people and I worked with this agency for a number of years. Then 9/11 happened and I was scheduled to be at Bergdorf's that day. And obviously the store was closed and I went into work the next day on September 12th. And it was an eye-opening experience. And I was at the end of my auditioning career. I can't call it an acting career because I didn't get much work, but it was more like an auditioning career. And 9/11 happened. And if you didn't get the memo from living through 9/11, then you're not going to get any memo ever. And the memo was, live your life. Go out there and try to enjoy life because it's not going to last forever.
For sure.
Anything could happen at any time. So you have to go out and actively find your bliss. And my bliss was no longer working at the makeup counter and handing out drinks at bars. And my bliss was definitely not my auditioning career. So I started to think, maybe I'm done with this. Maybe I can put this part of my life behind me. And my boyfriend at the time was very supportive. And around New Year's, after 9/11, so just a few months after the 9/11 events, I came out to him and said, I don't think I need to do this acting thing anymore. And he said, I've been waiting for you to tell me that. Of course, I never should have been acting anyway. It wasn't like meant for me. But he also thought that there was much that I could do with my education and my charisma. So
There's a lot of that.
So what I did was I kept going for another 4 months with my professional voice and speech class for the actor. It was a 2-year master program in voice and speech for the actor, focusing on Shakespeare. And I was always very passionate about Shakespeare. And I believe in finishing things. Obviously not if they're destructive and unhealthy, but I loved the work and I was still unsure about what I was doing. And you're getting the long form story of this. But I finished the Shakespeare class, finished the voice class, and then I was ready to go. So I got a full-time job as an assistant at the events company that sent me out to the bars to hawk liquor, quit the makeup company, started working in special events, worked my way up in special events for like 7, 8 years. And then I realized that that wasn't for me either. But I learned business. I learned events. I learned how to use a computer, believe it or not.
That's useful. What we do.
So I didn't grow up with computers because I was around during the dinosaur age. So I learned business systems, which was helpful. And my friends always said, you love doing makeup and we love when you do makeup for our TV appearances and our weddings. So just do makeup. So I hung out a shingle and then I got started and I started networking. I had another boyfriend during my events era who told me something that I did not know, which is that part of my value as a worker, not my value as a person, but my value as a worker and to business was my Rolodex. And I did not know that. So I learned that all the gold was in my Rolodex as she holds up her iPhone. That was the gold. And it's not like I'm great at making friends, not like I'm the coolest person. It's just that I pursue relationships. And that little phrase from that one long ago boyfriend really turned things around for me. And that's one of your further on down the line questions is, where is the gold? The gold is in the relationships. So that's what I learned at that point. And then when I started freelancing, when I hung out a shingle and came up with a logo and a business name, literally off the top of my head, I knew that I had to dig into my relationships. So I emailed everybody on my mailing list, everybody, said, hey, I'm doing makeup now. Let me do your makeup for anything. Absolutely anything. Let me follow you around with my makeup brushes. So I got my kit together and I scraped myself together however I could. And I started doing makeup. Just like that.
And here you are.
Here I am. And a couple of months later, I joined a global networking group and I started doing headshots right away. And I met a lot of people. I learned that meeting photographers is the way to go. And business took off. And of course, there was slow going and there were trials and mistakes, but that's basically how I did it. I dug into my relationships.
This is very valuable point that you're bringing up. That is very important for anyone really to understand, whoever they are, if they're a wedding vendor or
Selling insurance.
not a vendor,
Yeah.
for any person really, because it's not gold. It's way more than that.
Yeah.
Because we are defined by our surroundings, if we want it or not. So people who we are connected to either elevate us or bringing us down. And someone can criticize this. But if we are connected to people who doing things that we want to do or support things that we want to do, we will elevate ourselves and we'll get better and better at that. And if our surroundings are not supportive of what we want to be, or maybe we don't know what we want to be and that surrounding is very negative, then we're just going down. That is something that I wish I knew years before. You need to know people if you want to be better, if you want to improve.
Well, if you want to be in this world, not just in the wedding world, but in the world in general.
Exactly.
You have to know people so that you can share ideas and build connections, because obviously we thrive on relationships as a species, but also that's how we share knowledge.
And this is how we learn.
Yep.
Absolutely. How did these connections that you had helped you with starting your career, and how is it helping now?
It was vital. I started going to these weekly networking meetings because I had nothing else to do. And also as part of the organization. So I would go to every networking meeting I could. And there was one day, just a couple of months in, when I was at a meeting and a wedding florist showed up at the meeting, and I got all excited and I asked her for coffee after the meeting. I complained that wedding planners weren't responding to my emails, and she said, "Wake up. Of course they're not responding to your emails. You're nobody right now. You just started. They'll respond to your emails when you establish yourself. But for right now, why don't you focus on photographers, because they need you. They need you for headshots. They need you for weddings. They need you for author book covers. So make friends with photographers." That was incredibly valuable advice, starting then and to this day. Obviously, here I am. But it helped me look at relationships in a different way. So you can't start right at the very top of the food chain. You have to work your way up the food chain. And every step along the food chain is filled with valuable relationships with really important, wonderful people. And that building these relationships, it's more than just about getting work. It's about building your life and surrounding yourself by people who are like-minded, who might become friends, and sharing the gifts that you have.
I totally agree. And I think I now remembered the wedding that we met at. It was Christmas wedding. It was in Rockefeller Center.
That was difficult. That was difficult. Yeah. That was a tough.
Remember that one?
I remember that one.
Bride's name was Michelle.
I don't remember her name, but I remember it was difficult.
Yeah. So
That said, I love a holiday wedding. I love a holiday wedding in Midtown. And we did another holiday wedding at, God, the weather was great. It was at Guastavino's, but it was like November, December. Love a holiday wedding.
Gustavinus is always great.
Sparkly
So,
lights. So that's where we met.
all right. You said that this is what you want to do. What about doing this? Right. And you like so much more than just doing makeup. So why don't you tell us what exactly you are doing and why does that bring you joy? I can say from a lot of experience, because we see makeup artists at every wedding, that there is a lot of people who, and by the way, not just makeup artists, obviously like any vendor, who come to do their job and they don't want to be there. They just trying to do something. They're just like, I want my money and I want to go away. They're not communicating with anyone. They don't look like they want to be there. And fairly not being comfortable at what they do. And that shows in what they do. That shows in their work. It's not a great experience for the client, whoever that is. It's not a great experience for anyone around. And you are completely different. You're like always there and you're talking, you're like helping everyone. And that really stands out. So what makes you go? You're present, you're happy, you love doing this.
I absolutely love doing makeup. I love it. Every face is a new puzzle for me to solve. And every personality is a new person to, this is going to sound corny, but to fall in love with.
No, not if you like really understand and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Things.
I do love to solve the puzzle of each face, and then I love to connect with people. which isn't to say that I'm not an introvert, because I am, because I definitely need my time alone to recover from connecting with so many people. But I love to connect with people, and I love to help people feel really good. People walk into my room or sit in my chair with tons of insecurities because it's a compare and despair culture, and I want people to feel really good in their skin. Because if I can make somebody else feel really good in their skin, then maybe I will learn how to feel good in my skin. So it really goes back to me. It's all about me. But I am very driven by my love of craft. And then I'm also driven by, again, relationships. I want to help my photographer have a great day because then I get great pictures. I want to help the planner have a great day because then I get great pictures and more referrals. But in general, I just like to help people have a good experience because I want to have a good experience. If I wanted to stress and have a terrible time at work, I'd get another office job. But that's not at all what I want. I want to enjoy myself and help people have a really elevated experience. So I'm just really passionate about the work and about the relationships.
And you love people.
I don't. I love some people when I'm in work and I have people in my chair. I'm focusing one-on-one on them, and then I can see their beauty and humanity. But when I'm in Midtown and I'm schlepping 40 pounds of makeup and people are walking all over me and not letting me cross the street and cars are honking, then I don't like people at all.
That's a very nice way to put
Yeah.
it.
I feel crushed by humanity. But when I'm face to face with people, one-on-one, and I can really focus on who they are and what they're looking for from their makeup, then I can see and appreciate their humanity. We're all very fragile creatures. We all just want to
Yes, we are.
and love.
And we can be stressed, or we can have a bad day, and then we reflect on others, not in a good way. And one of the goals that I have 7 years since I changed what I'm doing with myself and my health is to pay attention and to not project whatever I'm feeling at any given point on anyone else.
Right. And that's a really important part of a health journey or journey of mourning or reconnecting with yourself or connecting with yourself for the first time, is that you can put other people's needs ahead of yours for a few moments. And you can also connect with them and see that maybe they are having family pressures on a wedding day. Maybe they didn't eat. Maybe they haven't gotten outside and haven't breathed. Maybe they're having a hard morning. Maybe they wish they were getting married. So there are all sorts of feelings that can be happening. And if you are in touch with yourself and you are connected to yourself, then you can extend that compassion to other people.
It's also important to help others in this. People mostly are not aware of how or what is actually happening to them and why they behave a certain way and why they're always annoyed.
Yeah.
And if we go back to the wedding day, is something that can be very stressful for a couple, especially for a bride.
Well,
and
it also kicks up a lot of feelings. And most people just go through their day and they don't look at their feelings. But wedding days can kick up a ton of feelings, family feelings. I can't stand this one. I love that one, but she's not available. Or I hate spending all this money, or I'm getting pressure because I'm spending money and I'm not supposed to be. Or why isn't the weather cooperating? Why isn't my dress cooperating? Why can't I stop eating so I can fit into my dress?
Why is it late? Or photographer for that point, so no one blames projecting on someone else.
Or why is my mother late to zip me into the dress?
Yes. And where's my dad for the first look?
Why is everybody drunk?
Yes, that's a given. And this is actually very good point. For those who don't know, I also have a wellness business where I help people to feel better in general, like weight loss, energy, and things like that. So we're working with quite a lot of our future brides to prepare them for the wedding. And someone comes to look better in the dress. And by the way, my wife is a boudoir photographer. So there's a lot of brides who go to her to get something special for the groom as a wedding day present. And on the way, I help brides typically to get in shape. One very important thing that we do with brides, and thank you to all my brides, is we prepare them for the stress of the wedding day because like you typically do it once and you get there and you have no idea how it's going to happen. And you're very stressed about everything ahead of time. It didn't start, there's a week ahead and we are so stressed, especially if there's no wedding planner. This is why I recommend to hire a wedding planner. Have a great wedding planner, because otherwise you are transferring all the unnecessary stress to yourself. Maybe you're saving some money, but you may be ruining your day on the way. And this is the day you want to relax.
Yeah.
So we are helping our brides, typically, because grooms are typically, I'm not stressing, to understand how the day is going to be and what are the things that they can expect and what are things that might be wrong, but they actually not important. Even if you invested a ton of money in your flowers, in your invitations, in whatever it is, it just doesn't matter if one flower is broken or the invitation is not there or something didn't arrive or your vendor is late, because in the end, and we make sure we're never late. Mm-hmm. To that point, if someone is late and that ruins your mood, and then your wedding is not going to be as fun, or you will be stressed during your ceremony, you're already stressed enough about getting married, and you think, oh my God, something else has happened. It's not going to be fun. So we teach brides to let it go, to be prepared, to know, okay, it's something might happen. Something always happens. And it can be stain on a dress during the shoot, or it can be broken nail, or it can be a florist that didn't arrive on time.
Flowers that you wanted got lost on the airplane from Chile, and the florist had to substitute a different flower, and it's not the florist's fault. It's a global problem.
Yes, especially during after COVID time.
Yeah. It's a live event and things happen.
Yes.
But smart vendors really prepare their clients. So my preparation starts with the initial phone call. So I get an inquiry from a client who's referred to me by a planner, photographer, vendor, a venue, or best yet, from a happy previous client. And before anything else happens, I book a phone call with them. And I give really good phone. And the reason why I give really good phone is not only that I'm a trained voiceover artist, but also I've done weddings before. So I have years of experience and I know the complication and I know the joys and I know how to prepare for inevitable interruption. So I ask them all about what they're looking for, what they have booked so far, what kind of vibe they're looking for, how they want to feel on the morning of the wedding. Then I talk about our services and what we provide. And I also address how we're going to handle anything that comes up that's in our wheelhouse. Then I walk them through the things that might happen. And I talk about how our preparation helps them relax, knowing that this is taken care of, that's taken care of. They have a timeline for the day. If I'm not present, then all of my artists are incredibly prepared for the day. Everybody knows what's happening, what time it's going to happen, what the expectations are. If there are any family relationships that we need to mind, that has been communicated to our team. And where they're supposed to be physically and when and what their end time is. Everybody is very well prepared. So when the client knows that our vendor team is prepared, they have extra confidence knowing that they'll be taken care of on that front. I also convey, hey, you have a wedding planner, but I'll also be following right behind the photographer. So if you need me to hold flowers, I'm happy to hold flowers. If you have a dresser, but she happens to be like handling your mom, I can fluff your dress. It's okay. You will be taken care of. So that's not only is that the level of service that we provide, but it's the level of hand-holding that we provide so that they understand that it's going to be okay, that they don't have to be nervous. And they may be nervous just because it's a big day. It's a very exciting moment to get all of your friends and family together and to take on this momentous ceremony and life of marriage. I would be nervous about that part. But they don't have to worry that their eyeliner is going to drip because A, it's waterproof, and B, we'll be right there behind the photographer picking up any drips. So that's the relationship building that we offer, and that can help people really relax. That's our goal, is to help people really relax and enjoy the day.
This is so important. Our clients, and I'm sure a lot of yours too, they are very successful people who are very much in control in their day-to-day job.
Yeah.
Right? We are in New York City. Our clients are finance people, doctors, lawyers. They're always in control. And this day suddenly puts them in a place where they are not. Things are happening, and so many things that are happening at once, and they cannot do much about what's going on. It doesn't depend on them.
Yeah.
And it's so important to let it go and not try to control everything because you can't. And whatever you do, you just won't be able to do it. And if anything happens, you will also blame yourself, which is so bad. They're not getting married every day. And it's all of those vendors and all of those things and all of this planning comes together in a couple of hours, literally. It has to come right. And if you try to control everything yourself, it's huge stress. Some people get nervous breakdown at the reception and the ceremony, during speeches, or before that. It's not worth it. Because in the end, it's all about getting married and have very important key moment in your life and then have fun.
Yeah, celebrating the actual occasion rather than worrying about the flowers and the dress and the eyeliner and why isn't this person ready? We can look at the big picture because we've done this literally hundreds of times. But I, having never been married, imagine that it would be nerve-wracking to depend on other people, but that's why you have to invest in the right vendors. And if you want a DIY wedding and that's what you can afford, everybody understands budget constraints, but you can't expect your wedding to be a certain way unless you invest in it and make it a certain way and hire the right people who are going to be, who you can depend on to create a level of service and a level of luxury where you know that you literally just have to show up.
100%. Talking about do-it-yourself weddings, we do suggest to people, if it's not really important to you, just don't have that vendor altogether. Just don't do that thing.
Don't hire somebody who's affordable.
Yeah.
Don't hire the girl from the mall to do your makeup because she might not show up. You might get pink eye. She might be late. She might not be professional and your family might not like her. So DIY or really invest.
And like maybe you don't have the finance now, just don't get married now or get married in City Hall and have celebration after. It doesn't need to be something stressful or you don't need to do it at any cost, or you can always do it after.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good segue to COVID because so many weddings had to be pushed, canceled during that awful period. And I'm proud to say that we had over 40 weddings that were supposed to happen during that period, and none was canceled. We had to work with couples and venues to move weddings several times. And we have some weddings that were rescheduled 4 times. We have some weddings that didn't happen yet, and they're happening this year or next year. People have children already.
I know. I've done 2 weddings where the couples have kids. That's great.
Yes.
Happy, live your life. We're not getting any younger.
Yes. And that
gorgeous wedding. Gorgeous.
And that shows that it doesn't really matter. It didn't happen then. It happens now with everyone that you wanted to be there. And maybe that period even helped you to understand who do you want to be there.
Yeah.
And now those weddings are so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Those weddings have been very special.
How was this transition during the COVID? What happened for you? How did you navigate?
Yeah, COVID was really important for me. Just setting this up here in New Jersey at my boyfriend's apartment, I had a flashback to 2020 when we were jostling. The 2 of us were jostling for Wi-Fi. He had to get an extra router. We were exhausting the Wi-Fi. We're exhausting each other. He was at his desk. And I'm in the bedroom, I'm on the porch, I'm out on the lawn, I'm taking calls and Zoom meetings everywhere I can. So first of all, in 2019, March of 2019, my dad passed. And that was a monumental experience for me and a monumental loss. And it was early spring, so I had a little bit of time to process, but then we just dove right into the wedding season. And before my first 2 weddings, after the memorial service, I called up the 2 hairstylists I was going to work with at those 2 weddings. I said, look, this is what happened. So if I need to take a bathroom break to cry it out, I need you to understand that you got to do a little tap dance until I get out of the bathroom. And everybody was so kind to me. But, the end of 2019 was great. It was exhausting, but I was still feeling down. So January of 2020, I thought, okay, this is it. This is my year. I'm going to kill it this year. And
come March.
Yeah. So January, February, and early March of 2020, we were going gangbusters. I was so busy in the winter. And then we had the lockdown. I thought, because I don't know anything about global health or diseases, infections. I know nothing. I'm like, it's going to be 3 weeks. We're going to be back. And then 3 weeks turned into 2 months. All my June weddings will happen. And then I'm rescheduling June weddings. So I took the time to decompress and to really work on the mourning process, which was very intense and really necessary and extremely worthwhile. And I highly recommend to anybody who has the actual time and resources to dive into a mourning process to do it, because it's revolutionary. And that's why many cultures have mourning processes. While I was doing that, though, I rebuilt both of my websites, the bridal and the fashion pages. I got a business coach. I got on a business software, so I joined Dubsado. So I'm no longer using Word documents.
Hello, automation.
I know. I got a bookkeeper. No, I got a bookkeeper years before, but I did so many smart, good things with my business that I had never done before because I never had the time and I never had the resources. And then, of course, or I didn't think I had the resources. Then, of course, I'm on unemployment pay. I'm like, let's spend the money. So getting all of those business things in place was incredible. I should have done it 10 years ago, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. I did it in 2020 and I've never looked back. Then another thing I did, which is super special. Well, first of all, we all completely redid our makeup and hair kits. Everybody redid their kits down to the studs. So I got a new bag. I started depotting everything. And there's been a makeup depotting revolution. Kit restructuring is like a huge fashion these days. And I dove right in because I love to put things in tiny little packages. I started depotting everything. COVID really opened up everybody's eyes to sanitation. So I looked at my kit and I saw where I could improve. And now when I go to a wedding or a photo shoot, every client has their own brush kit. So I have 10 identical brush sets. And when I come home from an event, I spot clean my brushes with a terrible poison, and then I wash them with bar shampoo and warm water and set them out to dry overnight. Then I alcohol the handles, and every client gets the same identical brushes in a pencil case with their name on it. So when it comes time to touch up at the end of the day or before they walk down the aisle, I just pull out their handy dandy brushes that already have their face on them and I touch them up. And everybody's amazed. And I feel really comfortable and confident about my sanitation situation. And everybody else is super impressed and they feel very well taken care of because they know that I have a brush kit just for them. All the way down to flower girls. So I demand that of all of my team as well. Then during COVID, Zipcar was very unreliable. I got screwed a couple of times and it was really bad. I didn't miss a wedding. I was never more than 5 minutes late to set up, but it took years off my life. So in 2021, I got a car. My
Nice.
car. I actually, in summer of 2021, I went down to your neighborhood to the farm, the flower farm, to look at the sunflowers. And I'm like, should I bother Julian? Nah.
Yeah, you should have.
No, but you're like busy raising your kids and lifting heavy weight. So I rented a car for the day and I'm like, this is it. I'm getting a car. So I got my very first car. Her name is Dame Judy. She lives in New Jersey with my boyfriend and his dog, and she's the best thing ever. So I got a car because I cannot rely on Zipcar on somebody's wedding day. One day, it was October of 2020. This client was supposed to have her wedding at New York Botanic Gardens in the Bronx. And in October of 2020, the Botanic Garden was still shut down for events. Totally shut down. And the clients really wanted to get married. It just so happens that her family has an incredible estate on Lake Mahopac. So Abigail Kirsch Catering took everything and brought it to the estate. They cut the guest list by 2/3. I gave them the name of a wedding planner who could help them re-coordinate everything. And they took everything up to Lake Mahopac. I almost didn't make it to Lake Mahopac. Zipcar changed my reservation location to a different place. I had to take an Uber to that location. Couldn't find the location. When I found the location, the Zipcar wouldn't start. I'm on the phone with Zipcar and I get somebody who's intelligent and he's trying to start the car or find me another car. And while I'm on speakerphone with him, I'm on Uber, calling an Uber to get up to Lake Mahopac. And I told the Zipcar guy, look, I'm going to have to call you on Monday because my Uber's coming because this is not a child's first birthday party. This is somebody's wedding day. Uber driver stepped on the gas and got me to Lake Mahopac. I'm texting the wedding planner, telling her my story. I call the bride. I say, here's the situation. I'm going to be 5 minutes late to show up, but I will be there. And she said, don't worry about it. We got it under control. That was one thing about COVID clients is that they had a little bit better perspective.
For sure.
A little bit better perspective. I was 5 minutes late, got everybody done. We had a gorgeous day. And then boom, I got my own car because I can't be late for things like that. So that's what I did during COVID. Oh, I got a lawyer to redo my bridal contract And then I put the contract up on Dubsado. I'm like a total whiz kid now, Julian.
That's an insane story about COVID. And what's special about it is most people, whoever they are, if you ask like, how was COVID? They will say, oh, but it was horrible. And all they will tell will be negative.
Yeah.
And look at you telling like, oh, it helped me to do this. It changed my perspective on that. I got better because of that. And I'm exactly the same thing. It made me build a gym at home.
Yeah.
It made me quit my corporate job of 14 years where I was like I don't want to do this anymore. I have two amazing businesses and I couldn't let it go and I didn't need it. And I was like,
You were still corporate.
up to 2020.
Real?
Yep.
My goodness. Wow.
So quit that so I can do more. And it was so much stress that left me.
And now you're home with your kids.
And I was working from home anyway since 2014. So I wasn't going to the city anymore every day and things like that, but I was flying twice a week for business.
I'm blown away. I don't know how you find the time because all I see is you online talking about protein and sunlight and taking wedding photos and like getting a dog and raising your kids. I had no idea that you had.
You talk about what you love. You don't talk about things you don't love. And now I don't need to talk about those things altogether.
Perspective that got me out of 9/11. I'm also the most incredibly lucky person. Like I was not directly affected by 9/11. I was indirectly affected. And I use that as an opportunity to improve my life and embrace life. And then COVID, I was not directly affected. Nobody in my circle, thank God, was sick and died. And I didn't get COVID until December of 2021. And when I got it, I already had 2 vaccines and a booster shot. So it was like,
okay,
I've had more annoying colds, but it kept me away from Christmas Eve, which was disappointing, but whatever. I embraced the time during COVID because when have I ever had a chance to sit down? Never.
Sure. You're running all over the place.
Working during the week,
Yes.
weddings on the weekend. And I never thought I had the time to sit down and do business things. So I saw it as the opportunity it was. I was lucky that I wasn't physically affected by it. I'm not an essential worker. I think I'm essential. But makeup is not actually essential work. So I had the time. And if I didn't use the time, it would have been totally wasted. That would have been a waste of time to not embrace the moment. Also, my boyfriend works 24/7 and I can't be here in New Jersey and I can't lounge around watching Hulu all day if he's building his own law practice while we're in the middle of COVID.
You can't.
No.
I take COVID as a very positive experience for us personally because many people got hurt. Unfortunately, things happen, but for those people who just sat and didn't do anything and were just sad about themselves for like 2 years, that wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
That's one of the things that I work with my clients on, that even if you have a problem, you can always find, the better side and see how you can use that to elevate yourself, to improve yourself. And like almost anything that happens to us has a good side. We just need to find it and hold on to that side. And then our life will be way, way better.
It's important to, if you're not being directly affected, if you're not sick, if you're not supporting your family with an essential worker job, if those aren't your circumstances and you have the opportunity, you have to take the opportunity. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
was COVID.
Yeah.
And now
That was
I rebuilt my team because some people left the city and never came back. So I had to rebuild my team. And 2020 through the end of 2022 was bonkers. So I needed new team members. And then once we got back to work, I had to go through the horrible experience of working during COVID, which meant convincing people to get COVID shots, begging them to let me send their vax cards to the venues because certain venues demanded vax cards. Otherwise, they wouldn't
just they
let
did.
a vendor in to the venue. That was extremely unfun. And then restaffing the night before an event because somebody got COVID or double conjunctivitis, or they're taking care of somebody with COVID, or their spouse got COVID and they can't leave the house because they've been exposed. That was super stressful. So as much as I embraced the time at home with boyfriend, dog, the grass and the trees outside, and my little work at home and like making gluten-free pizza, the next year was a real blow. That was a blow because we were working on backed up weddings. As we discussed, we rescheduled weddings and some people rescheduled so far in advance as they rescheduled so many times that they showed up with a baby on the wedding day, which is great. But the work all surrounding the wedding, getting the vaccines and getting the COVID vax cards to the venues and doing tests the day before, 2 days before, because the family demanded it, because it was really scary. That was incredibly stressful. That was so stressful. That was brutal. Not gonna lie.
It was insane. I remember us doing COVID tests every like 3 days
Mm-hmm.
because we had corporate event and we had something on a day for Jewish way and then weekend, and everyone wants vaccine and they don't care that 3 days
Yeah.
ago you were fine. Like we want current one, the regulations, whatever. And it was like my Walgreens were like, here I am again. Like here I am again.
And it was really difficult because it's not like now where there were kiosks all over the East Village. We still have COVID test kiosks all over the streets. And back then in December of 2021, everybody was getting Omicron and the lab tests weren't coming back for a week. And sometimes you had to pay for a lab test. And we're getting tested all the time. It was a fraught moment. I do not want to go back to that fraught moment.
It wasn't fun at all. I remember taking to see some Broadway show for kids and we couldn't manage to get the test, so they wouldn't get in. I had to do like those rapid tests and it was like $150
Yeah, to go
per child or something like this.
Yeah.
That was insane. There was a line. It was very cold and the children were upset and like,
Disaster.
and then we came to the show and the test for one of them didn't come through because they were sending like email. So here I am in line arguing with that company. Send me like, and they, oh, we sent you someone else's test. Great. Insane. But do you think that post-COVID things have changed the way events happen, the way brides and grooms approaching the wedding, the way you booking changed? What has changed except you changing your kids, which is obviously amazing. You changing your process, but what do you see on the other side? How have weddings landscape changed?
I think there's a huge sea change happening right now based on the economy. And the economy is greatly affected by the after effects of COVID and the whole global economy that resulted from that. So I think that is having a huge change. But people-wise, I think that clients are being a lot more thoughtful. I think they're choosing more of the slow wedding. Remember the slow food revolution?
Yep.
It's now like a slow wedding revolution. So I think people are choosing quality. They're choosing investment. And because of that, I think that we're seeing fewer weddings this year. That
Absolutely.
there are a lot of venues that aren't fully booked. There are a lot of vendors who are not fully booked or not like double and triple booked and quadruple booked like we have been in the last couple of years. Prices have gone through the roof on all across the board with weddings. So
Yes.
it costs more to get flowers in. It costs more to get food in and we have to pay our vendors more. Gas costs more. So everybody's costs have gone up. So I think it requires and demands that the client be more thoughtful about their approach. And because of that, I think that my business will be sustained because my client profile is someone who's very educated and very thoughtful about the choices that she makes.
That's important. And it's also good that you can choose your client.
Yes, I choose my clients, but also they choose me. I have a very strong client profile, people who really don't veer off of that. My clients are in the medical profession. This year, I've got a lot of physician's assistants, doctors, nurses. I have a lot of MBAs and a lot of lawyers. So I have a lot of neck up people. And I think they're attracted to the way I do business, which is systematically. Also, I lead with my heart when I'm doing the actual makeup and when I'm working with the actual people. But I think that I have systems in place that give clients confidence that we're going to deliver on time, and we're going to bring joy to the wedding because we're organized. So we don't have to worry about, sorry to curse, the shit that might happen. We can be confident that we can bring our hearts to the wedding because stuff is taken care of. So I think that's the new wave. I think that thoughtful weddings are the new wave.
Beautifully put. And I definitely wouldn't be able to put that like this myself. My thinking is different, and you open my eyes on how things are happening right now because I see the same trend and I wouldn't be able to define it.
And also that's the kind of change that I'm trying to project into the world too. Thoughtful weddings, but I think that the panic, there was an absolute panic in 2020 through 2022. Just sheer panic. We have to get married. We have to do this. People are excited to get married and establish their lives and start their families. But also they know that grandma and grandpa can't hang on for the next couple of years and they want to include them. And families change and they want to embrace the family that they have now so that things can move forward. But that panic, thankfully, has subsided, and now people are able to be more thoughtful. And I think that they're choosing how to spend their money. And our clients are not like, our clients are in a luxury percentage where they don't have to tighten their belts. They may want to give the appearance of tightening their belt, but everybody's eyes have been open to making more thoughtful choices about spending, not just spending money, but spending time, spending resources, and spending the time and resources of their guests. They want to have a very thoughtful experience for themselves and their guests.
I agree. I think that the trend, it's not about showing, look, like what I did, but it's more about fun. But I see way more family connections and people thinking more about one another and how to make things more fun and more comfortable for their guests and the family, and less concentrating on little details. And while most of our weddings do have planners, which takes care of that, still when we don't have a planner, we see that the focus has shifted to this is us versus this is me, and this is what I wanted to have for my wedding.
Right. Yeah. I believe that the COVID wedding revolution had people doing luxury weddings in their backyards, luxury weddings on the rooftop of their building, micro weddings with their family.
Yes.
So I think that the whole world has seen the opportunities that you don't have to get married at the country club. That doesn't have to be the only thing that's available to you. You can have luxury on many different scales. It's now chic to have a smaller wedding. It's chic to elope. It's chic to do destination weddings. Because a lot of people would just take their immediate family and go to the beach, go to the mountains, go to Mexico. So now different types of weddings have been popularized. And I think people have the opportunity to choose the type of wedding that makes them happy. And I would like to think that there's less emphasis on, my mother really wants me to wear a veil. My dad really insists that we do it at the golf course. I'm hoping that there might be less emphasis on what everybody else in the cast wants, and it might be more emphasis on the star players.
So we're talking weddings, and what do you like to do on your free time when you do have? What do you love? What your passions are?
I used to have hobbies.
It sounds sad. Used to.
I used to have hobbies, but now everything just flows out of work, even my workout. So, for example, I practice the gyrotonic method of exercise, which is, it's like Pilates, but it's different. So you can do it on the mat, you can do it on any number of machines, but it's a full flexion of the spine. And not only do I think it's super fun and I love the workout, but it really helps my work because I'm stretched, I'm mobile, I'm strong, I'm balanced from one side to the other. So even my workout is meant to help my work. But personally, I think I'm a mermaid. I like to be in salt water, not to be specific, but Atlantic only and Caribbean, unless of course I'm in the Andaman Sea in Thailand. I am getting back to travel, which is awesome because 2019, my dad got sick and then passed, and then we had 2020, and it's just been so turbulent that I haven't gotten to travel. But this year, for my birthday, I took myself to Colombia and Panama. Then in February, Steve and I went to spring training in Florida, which was super fun. It was our first time. Fun fact, one of our very first trip together 9 years ago was supposed to be spring training, but it rained so hard we could have swum to the game. It was just hideous weather, but try it again this February, and that was fun. And then we just attended a wedding in Jamaica. So I've been to 3 foreign countries in just the first 4 months of the year, and that's awesome.
You're just starting.
I know. So I do love to get out of town. I love to be outdoors. Anytime I can, it's not like I'm outdoorsy. It's not like I would camp, but I love to be outdoors. I like to be on the beach. I like to be in the mountains. I like to be rolling in the grass. Those are my hobbies. That's about it.
I think traveling and working out, as much as it helps the job, it's very good for you, for your soul, for your health. And people nowadays choose to enjoy things like scrolling on TikTok, which is very important for our work.
Yeah.
But outside of work, I never do that.
Yeah.
That's not good. And it's not better than food addiction. So I'm choosing other addictions that are healthy, like working out, like walking around. Like I wish I would say I travel a lot. And I think this year it was on 15 flights or 16 flights, promise. But it was mostly work.
Yeah.
So we did some weddings in Miami, in Israel, and in Italy. And now we went to Hilton Head for a wedding. It was supposed to be sunny and warm and beach, and it was raining and cold, and we had to deal with that. And everyone is happy, but that's one ties back into the thing where like you can't control everything. You're going for spring break wedding
I know.
on the resort and it's 40 degrees and rains. I do want to travel more.
Really funny because I just got an inquiry for August 24th, which is always the weekend that we have a massive summer storm. Every single year we've got a massive summer storm.
And people still get
We
married.
still get married that weekend. All of us could tell legendary stories about how we've mitigated disaster the weekend of August 24th. 2 years ago, we had a wedding that weekend, and I was on the phone with my friend at 4 a.m. looking at weather maps, and I don't know how to read a weather map. And I was looking at the distance of the Bear Mountain Bridge. Can I get across the Bear Mountain Bridge in my small Hyundai Kona without being blown off?
That's funny.
Yeah, I'm a warrior.
You're still here.
Oh.
Great.
I'm worried about getting blown off the Bear Mountain.
All right. So like I used so much of your time and I want to be really cautious of it. And I want to ask, like, for the bride who is getting ready to book her wedding and her makeup artist, anyone in the beauty department, what would be your like top tips to do the right choice and to prepare correct?
Okay, great. First, you book your wedding planner and then you book your wedding photographer. And get a venue. Get a venue first.
That's important.
Yeah, it's important to know where and when. And then reach out to me. People used to book me 13 months in advance, but now a lot of people book me short term because the more money you spend, the more choices you have. And luxury weddings have a later time frame, a shorter time frame. I would recommend that people have an idea of how they want the day to go. You pick out a dress, you pick out who's going to stand with you. Picture in your mind how you want the day to go. Do you want to be dancing around your bridal suite to Taylor Swift? Or do you want no music and to have a very quiet spa atmosphere? And think about what type of person you want in your face on the wedding day. Hopefully that person will be me. If you want somebody calm who has jokes. And then listen to your vendors. Take into account their preparation notes. I would love for people to take care of their skin every day, whether they're getting married or not. I would love for people to eat good food, get great sleep, drink really good water, because there's no point in lying to me that you take care of your skin because I can feel it.
Ouch.
There's no point in lying to me. I know whether you moisturize or not. So take really seriously how your vendors are suggesting that you prepare. And take really good care of yourself. So whether most people like to lose weight and get in shape before their wedding, that can really help center people. Exercise, all the deep breathing, it helps people get centered. So that's a really good idea because you want to feel present, and being centered helps you feel present.
For sure.
So that kind of preparation, yeah, and follow my directions. Eat.
That's most important.
Eat, sleep, drink your water. Get your stuff prepared for the photographer when he arrives. Be prepared for when we arrive. Hire somebody who's going to do a timeline for you. Hire somebody who includes up to 8 hours of service in the package so that you know that they're going to be there for touch-ups. And hire somebody who makes you feel good. Have a phone call with every vendor. Don't spend too much time shopping because time is money. And when you find a vendor who you vibe with, book that person. But work with people who make you feel good. Work with people who make you feel heard, who make you feel seen, who appear to be experts in their field, work with people who are recommended, because that way you can relax and enjoy your day. Does that answer?
That's a great advice. No, I think that's not enough, but it's very good advice.
It's not enough?
It's not enough because I'm sure you can go on, and I can add more and it will still be relevant.
Yeah.
But I think that's an amazing advice, and hopefully we'll do this again and you can give more advice and talk about more things. I end up every podcast with everyone with the question is because we're all about champagne and chandeliers.
I do love both things. I absolutely love chandeliers because I love
I
light.
don't see one there. We should send you one.
Yeah, I love light and sparkle and design. So ever since I was a little kid, I loved chandeliers. My mom would take me to Boston Ballet for Children. And it was at the Wang Center in downtown Boston. And I was entranced by the chandelier. And we would get up on the second floor and look at the chandelier. And I had lots of questions like, how do they clean it? When do they clean it? How many people clean it?
I still have those questions.
I know. And then whenever I walk into a cool space, if there's a great chandelier, I am entranced. And there's that lighting section of Bowery in Lower Manhattan where they have chandelier stores. You can get a chandelier in the shape of an electric guitar. Whenever I walk into a client's amazing house and they've got a cool chandelier, I'm in heaven. And then champagne,
Right person for this
yeah,
podcast.
champagne's a good thing.
Is champagne your drink of choice, or you have
I
something
do
else that you love?
champagne. It used to be vodka soda, but vodka now gives me a headache.
I can help with that.
I know. It's called not drinking vodka.
Yes.
My current drink is an Aperol Spritz, which includes Prosecco or champagne.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You're graciously agreeing to talk to me.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. It's amazing to connect outside of work, and I hope for more of that
Yeah.
this year.
All right. Have an awesome
Thank
day.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
You too.